Hey, feature weapon enthusiasts, Nick Young here, CEO of Desert Tech. I'm excited to share with you these two new rifles. These have been under development for the last 2 years. This one is our Wolverine rifle. It's a semi-automatic rifle that's intended to replace the MDRX. This one is the Sabertooth rifle. It's a fully automatic beast intended for the military and police. Both of these rifles have state-of-the-art advancements and enhancements that make them really remarkable. Before we get into those, please like this video and subscribe to the channel because this isn't the only new stuff that we're going to be telling you about. Desert Tech has always been known for our extreme innovation, and we took that same intense focus and shifted it towards unrivaled performance. And it took 2 years, but we completely re-engineered the foundation that the MDR was built upon to achieve that unrivaled performance. The enhancements that these two rifles bring to market are: first, extreme reliability; second, unrivaled shootability; third, maximum mobility; and fourth, improved accuracy. Let's talk about reliability first. In development, we were able to achieve 1 stoppage every 2,000 rounds. And it took a complete re-engineering of the entire gun to achieve that kind of reliability. First, we eliminated 51 parts from the rifle. Second, we integrated the barrel mount and the bolt carrier and all of those things into the receiver and integrally machined those features into the receiver. Third, we completely redesigned the bolt carrier, and we slowed down the bolt carrier, added some weight to the bolt carrier. We dehorned all the sharp edges. We redid all of the smooth surfaces on the bolt head and the bolt carrier itself. We redesigned the bolt head. We redesigned the ejector pins. It went through a complete overhaul to really make that action be as smooth as we possibly could get it. On the Sabertooth, we added an anti-bounce device to ensure reliable full auto fire. The next thing we did was we redesigned the feed ramp geometry to ensure universal reliable feeding of all of the cartridges that we have in the platform. 6.5 Creedmoor, 308 Winchester, 5.56 or 223 Wieldy, and 300 Blackout. So that new feed ramp optimized the feeding and smoothed that feeding for all of those cartridges. The next thing that we did was we eliminated the forward ejection system. And the reason for that is in meeting with law enforcement and military, they liked the forward eject on paper, but in practice, they really didn't like that it was hard to visibly safety check the chamber, and they didn't like the increased complexity of clearing a malfunction. And for those reasons, they are requesting a side eject. And so moving forward, we're going to offer side eject rifles and not pursue the forward eject system anymore. We still have some forward eject MDRX rifles in stock, so if you really love the innovation of the forward eject, I suggest you buy one before they're all gone, because we're not planning on making any more after that. Both of these new rifles utilize Desert Tech's Pure Flow gas piston system, which eliminates any leakages and minimizes the amount of gas necessary to cycle the action reliably. To increase the barrel life of both rifles, the barrels are all melanited. We also re-engineered the mag catch cavity in the stock panels to maintain positive 90-degree engagement in the magazine at all times.
No recoil. So easy to hold.
Now let's talk about the unrivaled shootability of these two new rifles. Quite frankly, the re-engineering that we did to improve the reliability contributed greatly to the shootability of these guns. Things like the reduced friction on the bolt carrier, the more smooth operation, the reduced feeding friction on the feed ramp geometry, the reduced gas requirements due to all of those improvements, and lastly, our muzzle neutral muzzle devices. This is our Raiden flash hider, and we have a ratchet compensator, and both of those have vent holes in the top to prevent that muzzle from rising during rapid fire shooting. The shootability is absolutely fantastic. We can shoot these things in full auto with one hand and control it and be on target. So
Leg is gone.
Now I'm going to explain how we maximize the mobility of these two new rifles by reducing the weight on average 1.5 pounds when comparing it to the MDRX counterpart. First, by eliminating the 51 parts, as mentioned previously, that reduced the weight, and also by integrating steel components and integrally machining those into the upper receiver, like the barrel block and the bolt carrier rails and whatnot, that reduced the weight even more. So on average, this standard 16-inch barrel in 5.56 or 308 weighs 7.3 pounds. That's the same weight as a Steyr AUG. It's about the same weight as an FN SCAR 5.56. It's lighter than the SIG MCX. It's lighter than the HK 416A5. It's lighter than the X95. It's lighter than the X95 SBR. It's lighter than the Hellion. I think you're getting the point. These are extremely lightweight and mobile. When you look at our 20-inch barrel Wolverines, those are averaging about 6.7 pounds with the 20-inch barrel. So we did a pretty decent job on cutting the weight down on these new guns. Well, now let's get into the accuracy enhancements that these two new rifles have that allowed us to achieve a 30 to 40% improvement in the accuracy. The first thing that we did was we integrally machined the barrel mount into the receiver. That eliminated any kind of misalignment or play that could happen or looseness that could happen between the barrel and the receiver. Then we added a third tension screw and we increased the torque setting of these three screws to 80 inch-pounds. That increased the clamping force by 172%. The next thing we did was we focused on reducing the damage that could occur on the cartridge as it feeds into the chamber. And we did that by re-engineering the feed ramp geometry to be very, very smooth and gradual. The next thing we did was we re-engineered the piston geometry. So in the MDRX, our short stroke piston had a sphere shape on the end of the piston, and on the op rod on the front of the bolt carrier that interacts with that piston, it had a concave sphere. So if there was any misalignment between those two parts, then when it actuated that piston, it would force those two parts to self-align. We determined that that self-alignment of those two parts was causing erratic flyers and hurting the accuracy in the MDRX platform. So we flattened the short stroke piston face and we flattened the op rod so that there's no self-alignment as those parts actuate with each other anymore. All this new engineering achieved pretty good accuracy standards for these new platforms. However, it's still a piston rifle, which means that you have that piston that's actuating against the barrel and causing excessive harmonics. And as a result, that piston kind of limits the maximum potential accuracy that the platform can have, but you can do things to improve it, and one of those things is reducing the gas to the minimum required to cycle the action reliably. The less gas that flows through the piston, the more accurate it becomes. And if you shut the gas all the way off, it actually gets pretty accurate, but then it's not a semi-automatic rifle anymore. So the other thing that we found is that you have to hold on to these things a little bit tighter than you would a bolt action rifle. The harmonics of shooting a semi-automatic rifle is a lot harder to deal with for shooters. For example, my development engineer that did all the development on this, he can shoot like half-inch groups with the gun. But when I shoot it, mine's more like 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And so I don't know why he can outshoot me, but The next thing that we did to enhance accuracy was we created a new handguard for the Sabertooth line of rifles. This handguard retains the zero on a laser and doesn't move around if any sideways or up and down pressure is exhibited against the handguard. We did this by employing a new torque lock clamping system, which has 2 screws per side, and when torqued properly, it has 2,800 pounds of clamping force between the handguard and the receiver. So this thing's not going to move around. The other thing this handguard has is 50% more Picatinny rail slots at 12 o'clock. So you have more rail space for lights and laser mounts. The handguard also can be removed and reinstalled without having to take off your muzzle devices. So you can see this is a micron barrel with a Huxworks suppressor on the inside, and this comfortably fits around that. And in addition, if you have a suppressor inside the handguard, our M-LOK rails jog out to the sides and underneath, and gives you enough room that you can mount those M-locks even with the suppressor inside the handguard. And it prevents your hand from getting burned. I noticed with the Black Label handguard that I can actually touch the suppressor through the M-lock slots on the side and it burns my fingers. So very, very much appreciated. This is obviously a 3D printed model. You guys will get to see the actual form of these handguards at SHOT Show. Now, these are coming stock on the Sabertooth, but if you are an MDRX owner or a Wolverine owner and you want to purchase this, we are going to allow this to be purchased as a aftermarket accessory that you can add to your MDRX or your Wolverine. Three other improvements that are noteworthy is first, we improved the tactile feel of our safety selector. Second, we improved the strength of our sling studs. Third, we re-engineered the rear push pin in the receiver. It has a new retention mechanism and it's actually a larger, stronger material than the old push pin in the MDRX. One thing that we keep getting asked is, are we going to put our quad stack magazine in the Wolverine or MDRX platforms? And the answer is no. The reason being is that the width requirement to be able to fit this in the gun interferes with the transfer bar linkages for the mag catch and the trigger, as well as the barrel mounting system. And so it's not possible to put that into this rifle, unfortunately. I wish we could, but we can't. Another question we keep getting asked is, are we going to make a 6 ARC or a 6 MAX conversion kit for these new rifles? I would like to, but we have a lot on our plate, and so if we did, it will be a little while before we can get something like that out. The Wolverine configurations that are available are the same as what the MDRX was, the same calibers, a 6.5 Creedmoor, 308 Winchester, 223 Wildy, 300 Blackout. The platforms that the Wolverine is available in is the DMR setup like you see here with a 20-inch barrel, minus the Black Label handguard, and a standard size 16-inch platform, as you see here, minus the Black Label handguard. And then a Micron conversion kit, like you see here on the wall, will be available for the Wolverine and the Sabertooth. And yeah. To celebrate the launch of the Wolverine and the Sabertooth, we have a limited edition t-shirt available featuring this exact DMR setup you see here. That's going to be available for the next 7 days. Click the link in the description. All of the proceeds from the t-shirt sales actually fund the next extreme video that we do, like that heat reenactment video if you haven't seen it. Let us know what you think about the Wolverine and the Sabertooth in the comments, and ask any questions you might have. Our next video is going to be a deep dive into our Quattro 15 and our Infinity 16. If you want to watch that, you can click here. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.